A viewer left a comment on this channel that stopped me. He wrote that he'd been playing the Yamaha TRB6 and the Patitucci TRB6 for over 30 years, and that they were the best basses he had ever owned. Better than his Ken Smith, better than his Tobias, better than his Alembic. Three of the most respected boutique names in the entire instrument world, and he ranked a Yamaha above all of them. He wasn't alone. Going back through every comment this channel has ever received, 9 different people brought up Yamaha Unprompted, a B-stock TRBX 304 bought for $200, described as one of the biggest instrument bargains ever. An 88 model still going, called a beast and a beauty. Somebody who bought 2 Yamaha Attitude basses for the price of a Squire. And not once in 26 videos has this channel given Yamaha an episode of its own. That's the gap I want to close today. 12 Yamaha basses almost everybody overlooks. Why this specific brand gets ignored while objectively worse ones get worshipped. And the honest flaws, because a video that pretends a brand is perfect isn't worth watching. A quick honest note before we start. Nobody paid for this video, no brand, no shop, and every clip from other creators you're about to see is used muted for commentary with the channel credited on screen. One of those creators does disclose that Yamaha loaned him the instruments for his review, so where I use him, I'm using his analysis of the brand's reputation, not his verdict on the product. The links below are plain product links, no affiliate games. And the complete buyer's guide, every gold mine and money trap from this channel as one honest map, is linked in the description. So first, why does nobody talk about Yamaha? A reviewer named Johnny Dibble put his finger on it better than I could. His observation is that Yamaha as a business is genuinely strange. They spread themselves across so many industries that people simply don't file them under instruments. Motorbikes, pianos, audio gear, outboard motors. They're a household name, but for the wrong reason. As he put it, they're not enough of a household name as a guitar manufacturer. So people overlook them and think, why would I get one of those when I could get a Squire or a Fender? I know those. I've seen people using those. And then his sharpest point, it's a snowball. People don't use them, which causes other people not to use them. There's a second reason, and it came from our own comment section. When this channel listed budget-based brands, one viewer pointed out something most players never think about. Most of those brands, he said, except Yamaha, are made in the Court factory. He's broadly right, and it matters. A large share of the budget-based market comes out of a handful of contract factories with different logos on the headstock. Yamaha doesn't work that way. They've been building their own instruments in their own facilities since long before most of these brands existed. That's not marketing. It's the reason their quality consistency has the reputation it does. And it's exactly the kind of thing that never shows up in a spec sheet comparison. Number 1, the TRBX 174. The entry point, around $150 to $180. Passive, simple, a precision jazz pickup pairing, and the thing that separates it from every other bass at this price is that Yamaha doesn't seem to know how to build something that falls apart. It's the bass this channel would hand a beginner without a second thought. Number 2, the TRBX 304, and this one has the strongest evidence behind it of anything in this video. Bass Buzz ran a blindfolded shootout, 3 professional bass players, 7 beginner-level basses, no idea what they were holding. On the Yamaha, their verdict was blunt. There's no question, they said, that these are better pickups quality-wise than anything else in the shootout. They called it a contender for the top spot, said it was the most fun to play, and noted that it was the only bass in the entire test with a composite neck. A 5-piece laminated construction you normally see much further up the price ladder, around $250 to $300. And one correction on this model, because this channel got it wrong twice. I previously described the TRBX 304 and the TRBX 305 as having a switchable active-passive circuit. They don't. The 300 series is active only. What it has is the performance EQ switch, 5 voicings named slap, pick, flat, fingers, and solo. A viewer caught it, he was right, and passive bypass starts one tier up. Number 3. That tier up, the TRBX 504 and the 5-string TRBX 505, around $450 to $550. This is where you get the genuine active-passive switching, upgraded pickups, and a bass that reviewers consistently describe as punching well above its bracket. If the 304's electronics are the ceiling of what you want, the 504 is the honest next step. Number 4, the BB234, and here's where the story gets interesting, because the BB line is the one with actual history. The Yamaha BB first appeared in 1977, made in Japan, positioned as an affordable alternative to what Fender was selling at the time. It has been played by Nathan East, Pino Palladino, Andy Rourke, and Peter Hook. The modern BB234, at around $400 to $450, is the stripped-back entry version. Alder body, maple neck, rosewood board, passive in-house, precision jazz pickups. No brand names anywhere on it. Dibble's verdict after playing it against the flagship was that in terms of pure value for money, it's the 234 all day long. Number 5. The BB434 and BB435, the 5-string, sitting around $550 to $650. Same DNA, better hardware, and Yamaha's signature 6-bolt neck joint with the angled screws. A genuine engineering difference, not a cosmetic one, designed to increase contact area and resonance through the joint. Number 6. The BB734A, around $800 to $900. This is where the line stops being a budget instrument and becomes a serious working bass. Active passive switching, upgraded pickups, and the same construction philosophy. If you gig 4 nights a week and want something that will not develop opinions about the weather, this is the one that keeps coming up. Number 7, the BB34, the Made in Japan flagship, around 1,700 to 1,800 pounds, so call it $2,000. Hand-built in Japan rather than mass-produced in Indonesia. Dibble's honest assessment is worth repeating exactly because it cuts against the brand. Yes, it's the better instrument, noticeably better fit and finish, better setup out of the box, better upper fret access. But at that price, compared directly to the 234, he still said the value crown goes to the cheap one. That's a more useful review than most sponsored content ever produces. Number 8, the BBNE2, the Nathan East signature. This is a genuinely high-end instrument, and it exists because one of the most recorded bassists alive has been playing Yamaha for decades. Not because a marketing department bought an endorsement. If you ever wondered whether professionals actually use these or just pose with them, the answer is sitting on thousands of records. Number 9, the Attitude series, Billy Sheehan's signature line. One of our own commenters mentioned buying 2 of them for the price of a Squire on the used market. New, they're a serious instrument. Used, they're one of the more overlooked bargains in the whole hobby because the name Attitude tells a shopper nothing unless they already know the story. Number 10, the TRB series, and specifically the Patitucci signature, which is where this video started. A 30-year owner ranking it over Ken Smith, Tobias, and Alembic is not a casual opinion. The TRB is Yamaha's high-end multi-string line, wide-spaced, built for players who need 6 strings and want them to feel deliberate rather than crowded. These are expensive new and steady on the used market, which tells you what owners think of them. Number 11, the RBX series used. This is Yamaha's discontinued workhorse line, and it's the entry point to the used market side of this brand. A commenter here described his as inspiring precisely because it's the opposite of the clunkers that are supposed to be better. Because the model name means nothing to most shoppers, RBX basses sit on secondhand listings at prices that don't reflect what they are. And number 12, the biggest one. 1980s and 1990s made in Japan Yamaha basses, full stop. One commenter here has an 88 model that cost him $300 new and called it, 30-something years later, a beast and a beauty. These were built during the same golden era of Japanese manufacturing that makes vintage MIJ Fenders collectible. Except nobody has bid the Yamahas up because the logo doesn't trigger the same reflex. That is the single most reliable value in this entire video. and it's the one that requires patience rather than money. Now, the honest flaws, because I said I'd give them, and a video that only praises isn't worth your time. The Bass Buzz panel, who liked the 304 more than anything else in their shootout, still had real criticisms. The cutaway starts at the end of the 22nd fret rather than the 24th, so reaching the top two frets means shifting your hand instead of sliding. The fret ends on the G string side felt slightly rough to the touch. Not sharp, but noticeable. The tone has a natural mid-scoop that not everyone wants, and their reviewer specifically wished Yamaha had fitted a 3-band EQ with a mid-range control instead of the 5-way voicing switch, so he could dial that scoop back out. And on the higher-end side, Dibble's point stands. The Japanese flagship is better, but the value case for it against the cheap one is genuinely hard to make. There's also a broader, honest caveat. Yamaha's tone is often described as clean, balanced, modern, and neutral. If what you want is a vintage-flavored, characterful, slightly broken sound with obvious personality, Yamaha is frequently not the answer, and no amount of build quality changes that. Their instruments tend to do exactly what you ask and add very little of their own. Depending on the player, that's either the whole point or the whole problem. 3 questions before we wrap up. First, are you shopping for a badge or an instrument? The entire reason a used Yamaha costs what it does is that the headstock doesn't make anyone's head turn, and that discount is real money in your pocket. Second, do you want an instrument with character or one that gets out of the way? Both are legitimate. Yamaha is overwhelmingly the second, and buying one hoping for the first is the main way people end up disappointed. And third, have you actually played one? Almost every person in this channel's comment section who owns a Yamaha describes the same moment. They didn't take the brand seriously until they picked one up. Here's the honest verdict. Yamaha is not underrated because their instruments are secretly amazing and nobody noticed the quality. They're underrated because of a branding accident. A company that makes motorcycles and pianos and mixing desks does not register as a guitar company. So an entire catalog of genuinely well-built basses sits one shelf over from the brands everyone argues about, quietly costing less than it should. The snowball keeps rolling because nobody sees anyone else playing them. The players who broke out of that snowball are, judging by this channel's comment section, some of the most satisfied owners I've read from, which makes this maybe the easiest recommendation this channel has ever made. Not buy a Yamaha, but go play one and then decide for yourself. Tell me in the comments which Yamaha you own and how long you've had it, because I have a strong suspicion the average ownership length on this brand is longer than almost anything else we cover. Everything mentioned is linked in the description, including the buyer's guide with the complete map of gold mines and money traps. Subscribe for honest, no-hype truth about bass gear, and I'd be genuinely glad to have you along for the ride.